Welcome to Picks and Parlays here on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network and the American Forces Network, by the way. Big hello to our men and women in uniform around the world listening. I'm your host, Nick Geber. Find me on Twitter at Nick Geber. You can see it right there. And if you're listening to us on the radio saying, what's he talking about? Clearly, we are streaming live video on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter as well. And you can find us very easily. Hashtag Parlay Radio. Lots of great stuff today. January the 16th, 2020. National Nothing Day, by the way. So we're just going to end the show right here. Okay, just kidding. In point of fact, we're going to trade National Nothing Day for Rid the World of Fad Diets and Gimmicks Day. You take your choice, whichever one you want. But we have neither fad diets nor gimmicks nor nothing to offer you today. We have a complete plethora of free sports picks for you on this show, just as we do every day at Picks and Parlays right here on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network. By the way, where we are live at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. On today's show, Craig Trapp, El Guapo. We're going to talk a little college basketball. Then the Duff Man does indeed cometh, Joe Duffy. Sean Duffy still sick, unable to attend. Joe will pinch hit for him. We're going to have a little NBA and college basketball action. And in case you're getting the idea, yes, we have a lot of college basketball today because we are right into conference playing college basketball. And of course, we will top it off with more college basketball for you. How about that? Chip Chirimbes, the Chipper Chicken Dinner himself, will join us here on the show. We're going to talk some NBA and, hey, surprise, surprise, some college basketball. Middle Tennessee, we're going to talk Oregon, Washington, Florida Atlantic, Santa Clara, Gonzaga, Arizona State, Colorado, Arizona, Utah, Memphis, Cincinnati, Cal, at those awful, spoiled little brats at USC. We're going to talk about it all right here on the show. By the way, we'd love to hear from you during the show. All you have to do is fill out the comment section on any of our social media platforms, and we will see you there and bring you into the show and do our very best to incorporate your comment into our fine programming. All right, I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back to kick it off with Craig Trapp, picksandparlays.net. Welcome back to the show, Picks and Parlays on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network, where we're with you each and every weekday from 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time on this network, and of course, streaming live throughout the day on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you miss any part of this show, you can catch the whole thing on replay on any one of our social media sites, and of course, at the Believe Podcast Network. I say, of course, because no self-respecting show these days is complete without their very own audio podcast, and we do, in fact, have that at the Believe Network. All right, in studio with me right now, His Royal Highness, that's right, El Guapo. He's decided that he's had enough of the royal family, and he's going to strike out on his own. El Guapo himself, Craig Trapp.
I'm not moving to Canada, though, but I'm going to I don't know if I'll move to Vegas full time, but I'm here most of the time, it seems like.
Canada not for your liking?
No. It's too cold.
College basketball for your liking?
Yeah, I like a little NCAA basketball this time of year. March Madness is just 2 months away.
It is indeed. Well, let's get to it. We have 3 games that we have found. Now, let's start, Craig, with the one that is probably nearest and dearest to your heart, you being an Ohio boy and all. Cincinnati, Memphis, and the AAC. The Bearcats are 10-6, 6-10 against the spread. They're 6-4, won the last 2 games. They had that nice victory over UCF, 68-54. They're 1-3 straight up and against the spread away from home, because of course they are away here. They're 3-1 in conference. Total is under in 4 of the last 6 games. And the Memphis Tigers, 8-2. Let's have a look. But their win versus South Florida snapped a little 2-game loser that they were on. They're 9-1 straight up, 6-4 against the spread at home, 2-1 in conference, yada, yada, yada. Total has gone under in 6 of the last 9 games. And we have a line here, Memphis, 5-point home favorite against your beloved Bearcats, total 140. There must be something wrong with this, Craig.
I was surprised this line was where it is. I thought this line, I always try to predict the lines before they come out to see, where there could be value for me. I thought Memphis would be 6.5 point favorites. Cincinnati team's just not been the same. Coach John Brandon, first year, has not worked out. I was not a Mick Cronin fan, huge Bob Huggins fan, not a Mick Cronin fan. I thought the new style that Coach Brandon brought in, that he had, just across the river there at Northern Kentucky, would be very successful with a team that was pretty athletic. But then the big problem was Cumberland, the returning AAC Player of the Year, has been injured and not been playing well, not been shooting well. And so Memphis team has a lot more talent than this Bearcats in shooting and playing a lot better. I just don't know if Coach Penny Hardaway, you can bet against him at home this year. He's been pretty good at home. They're 9-7 against the spread overall against the Bearcats team that's just 6-10 against the spread overall. I just think Memphis has a lot more upside here. Yes, Cincinnati did win at UCF the last time, but UCF, not that UCF team that we saw almost beat Duke last year. I just think Memphis is a way better team. Yes, that loss at Wichita last week, a little surprising. I think I was on the show last week, and that was one of my picks. I liked Memphis getting the points. They didn't cover. But, Wichita is a very good team, and they're good at home. I think Memphis at home turns the tables on a Bearcats team. They got over on them last year. Let's take Memphis -5 here.
You take the Memphis -5, right? Under or over, or any thought on it?
I like the over here because, Coach Brandon, the way he was successful at Northern Kentucky is play more up-tempo. So Cincinnati is not in that defensive team that we've seen in years past with Coach Cronin.
All right, let's move on, shall we? Utah at Arizona in the Pac-12. The running Utes, 10-5, 8-7 against the spread. 6-4, they lost the last two, including a 52-91 loss to Colorado. They're 1-2 straight up and against the spread away from home. 1-2 in conference. Total has gone under in 4 of the last 6. And the Wildcats 11-5, 8-8 against the spread. 5-5. Their last outing was a 65-82 loss to Oregon State. At home, though, they're 8-1 straight up and 7-2 against the spread. The total has gone over in 4 of the last 6. And by the way, they're 1-2 in conference, and they are you ready for this, Craig? You probably know this. So
probably.
They're 12.5-point home favorites, just slightly massive home favorites against a 10-5 team with the Utah running Utes. Total 144. Does this seem like an overly big number to you?
Well, it's actually 13 now. So if you didn't like it at 12.5,
I don't like it at 13 either.
Well, guess what?
Yeah,
there's a reason for that.
Okay.
91-52 lost Utah at Colorado last time out. Yes, Colorado is a very tough place to play, and Colorado is pretty good this year. But 91-52. Pretty embarrassing. Arizona, not a whole lot better. The Oregon loss, nothing to shame about. The overtime loss there. But then they went to Oregon State. Oregon State's not very good in loss. So
by almost 30 points.
Right. So I think you see
points.
A bounce-back game from Coach Sean Miller, Arizona team. I like Arizona here. Lay the big number. When you see a number that's this big after something like that, after 2 losses for Arizona, that tells you how much better talent-wise the odds makers think Arizona is over Utah. Utah is just not very good this year. So lay the big number. Lay the 13 points here with Arizona. And what I think is going to be a big blowout, second in a row for Utah. Utah just 1-2 against the spread on the road this year, too. So haven't been very good away from home.
Well, and I'm going to tell you why I disagree with you. Okay, I disagree with you because if you look at these records, they're almost identical, okay? Plus, they're both 1-2 in conference play. Arizona got beat by Oregon State by, almost 20 points? And yes, 52-91 loss to Colorado is a bad loss, no doubt about it. But it just seems 12.5 points, despite being 8-1 straight up at home, is a bit big. I'm not saying sprinkle the money line on Utah.
They lost 80-52 at home to San Diego State. San Diego State is a good team, but 28 points. I mean, they've had some really ugly. When they lose, they usually get whitewashed, and that's the worry here. And, Utah just doesn't have this. Arizona
Am I talking you into this trap?
No. Oh. Arizona has 2 to 3 pros on their team. Utah has 0.
All right.
And this is a game about Jimmys and Joes.
All right. Lay the points. Lay the points. All right. You heard him. All right. Next up, Cal at USC, another Pac-12 matchup here. The Cal Golden Bears 8-8, 6-10 against the spread. They're 4-6. They've won the last 2, including a 61-58 win over Washington. They're 0-3 straight up and against the spread on the road. Not a great record there. They're 2-1 in Pac-12 play. A lot of P's in that.
Easier said than done.
Yes, they're 1-4 straight up in the last 5 against SC. And as for the USC Trojans, they're 13-3. They're 8-8 against the spread. They're 8-2. The last outing was a very lucky 74-63 win over UCLA. They're 6-1 straight up, 2-4, 2-5 against the spread at home, 2-1 in conference. The total has gone under in 5 of the last 5, and they're 1-3 against the spread on days when the coaching staff have accepted bribes in excess of $75,000. They're 2-4 otherwise. Okay, they are also 11.5-point home favorites here with a total of 131. Mr. Trapp, tell me they're going to get blown out by Cal.
Yeah, USC getting 11.5 or laying 11.5 seems a little much. After you play a rival, I always look for a way to play against them if they're a big favorite. And the reason is because you get so much into these rivalry games that it's easy to have a letdown in the next game when you're a big favorite. That is the case here, but I'm going to go with the total here instead. This team has Cal's gone 2-1 to the under the last 3 games. USC 5 in a row has gone under. This USC defense is pretty good. Cal's offense isn't good. So to me, this smells like a easy under game and what could be a little hiccup type game for USC. I think they get off to a slow start, will win this game, but I think it's a little too many points. But I think it's very safe to play the under here. So we're going to take the under 132.5 against the USC or with the USC team that I think's defense carries the flag again today.
So a slow start, but of course those payoffs will start to hit about what?
Maybe
half
they pay off
time?
the ref or something.
Exactly, about half time. You never know.
Yeah.
They may bring in quickly draft some new players who were on the rowing team before, but hey, it's
Cal's
all good.
also off a big win against Washington, won in overtime.
Get
so I
back
think
to
that's
my
good.
slagging of USC. Come on, don't try and change the subject.
Listen,
Trapp.
it happens. You can bash your rival if you want, but USC was the better team. Probably will be the better team when they play the second time too.
That's just not true. I mean, that's just, look, UCLA let them get into the game and win it so that they would feel overconfident for the second game when they, of course, will get crushed. Not just a crush, but a spirit-crushing defeat, no doubt.
You guys hired Coach Mick Cronin that I was like willing to drive cross-country. I would rent a limo, drive it myself, to drive him across country just to get rid of him out of UC. Thank you for UCLA taking him. Thank you.
All right, that's going to wrap up this segment. Hope you've enjoyed it. Don't worry, lots more free picks coming up after the break with Joe Duffy will join me. We'll talk some more college basketball and a couple of NBAs in there too. So stick with us here, picksandparlays.net. And don't forget, we have a special offer, 15% off. Use promo code TIE, right, Craig? TIE, 15% off all of our expert picks at picksandparlays.net. All right, I'll be right back at you after this. Welcome back to the show, Picks and Parlays, here on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network. We're with you each and every weeknight. Well, it's not really the night. It's, let's just say, afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and it is early afternoon in the Pacific Coast, or 1 p.m. Pacific Time, for 1 hour of the best free sports pick anywhere on syndicated radio. And we also stream live throughout the day on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Be sure to find us. All you got to do is search for Picks and Parlays or hashtag Parlay Radio, and if you want to comment during the show, we'd love for you to do that. We'll see your comment here in the studio, and it'll be shown to me, and I'll mention it, even if it's rude, even if it's very rude. You know how this works. We just love comments. Okay, coming up, Joe Duffy. Why Joe Duffy? Sean Duffy's sick, apparently. He ate some of Sean Higgs' cheesecake, made him a little ill. So Joe, brother Joe, is filling in. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
I'm doing just fine, St. Nick. Every time I watch your show, I keep waiting for someone from the NFL Hall of Fame to come in and say that you're the first inductee in the gambling wing of the NFL Hall of Fame, but it hasn't happened yet.
In the bovine scatology area of the Hall of Fame, no doubt. Okay, let's do it, Duff man. Let's talk. We have a couple of NBA games, and then we're going to do some college basketball. So why don't we take care of the NBA games first because I believe we had curated Jazz at Pelicans and Suns at Knicks, right? Am I mistaken or am I mistaken?
No, we curate. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, the Sun. Yeah, you are correct. Yes.
Okay, let's start with that. Jazz at Pelicans. The Jazz, 28-12. 21-18, and you like that pause? That's like a William Shatner style pause, okay? 28-18, I practiced that. 28-18 and 1 against the spread. They're 10-0, perfect in the last 10. The last time they lost a game, the Jazz did, was before Christmas. To be specific, December 23rd, when all the kiddies were starting to harass you about what you were giving them and what Santa was going to bring. That's when the Utah Jazz lost their last game. Seems like a lifetime ago. They're 6-0 straight up, 5-1 against the spread away from home. Mike Conley's still out with that hamstring. The total has gone over in 4 of the last 5 games. And the Pelicans, well, kind of the other way, 15-26, 20-20-1 against the spread. They're 7-3 though recently, so they picked it up. The last game was a 7-point win as a dog against the Pistons, which I thought was kind of interesting. They're 7-12 straight up, 10-9 against the spread at home, but lots of injuries. J.J. Redick, Jrue Holiday, Derek Favors, Brandon Ingram, they're all out for this game. They've gone over in 8 of the last 8. Now, I didn't get a total or a line on this one when I did my copious research. But Duffy, what are you seeing on this one?
Yeah, well, I see that Redick is questionable. He might wind up playing. He is averaging 15.7 points per game. 5 games this month, playing pretty well, averaging 18.2, 3.2 rebounds, 2.4 assists, and 26.8 minutes. So we know he can really open things from outside. I did miss the last 2 games. Josh Hart, though, would get the start if Redick isn't able to play. But no, I don't believe he is definitely out. Reserve forward Kenrick Williams will miss his 4th straight game. And, you know, he gives them a couple quality minutes. He is averaging 5.1 rebounds. But it does look like Okafor is going to come back for the Pelicans. 8.5 points per game, 4.6 rebounds in 24 games this year. And as you said, Jrue Holiday is out for the Pelicans. He's a key, 19.6 points per game, 4.9 rebounds, and 6.5 assists. So this is one of those where, and, you know, Lonzo Ball will probably get some playing time, but it does look like New Orleans could be very shorthanded for this game. Although, as you said, Favors is coming back. He should be back for the Pelicans. 9 previous games to getting hurt, averaging 11.2 points per game, 12.4 rebounds. So, you know, he's playing pretty well, and Brandon Ingram is probable. So many injuries here. If all the questionable guys don't play, obviously the line will skyrocket. And as I've said, the NBA is the one and only sport where my computer says that road favorites, big road favorites, are actually good plays. So I would lean towards the Utah Jazz, but keep a close eye on the injury report as the day goes along, because this line's probably going to move based on simply the injury reports, not so much, you know, big bets, but I think it's going to move just based on any updated injury news.
Yeah, so J.J. Redick not playing, but if you see J.J. Abrams is taking the court in his stead, you may be worried. Okay, next up, Suns at Knicks. Suns 16-24, 12-19-1 against the spread. They're 5-5. They lost the last outing to the Hawks, 110-123. I'm not sure that's quite as embarrassing today as maybe it would have been a couple of weeks ago, but it's still pretty embarrassing. They're 7-10 straight up, 10-7 against the spread away from home. Ricky Rubio is listed as a question mark for this game. The total's gone under in 4 of the last 5, and the Knickerbockers, they're just pretty bloody awful. I mean, they are 11-30, 20-21 against the spread, 4-6, coming off a 102-128 loss to the Bucks. No shame there. Bucks, great team. 6-13 straight up, 9-10 against the spread at home. Marcus Morris, Dennis Smith Jr., Frank Tilikina are all out, and I got that right. I know I did. They've gone over in the last 5. This has got to be, I mean, the Knicks are at home, but the Suns aren't like an incredibly wonderful team. This may be a little tighter. What do you think this is going to be, like a -2.5? Yeah,
The Suns aren't exactly a tremendous team themselves, so yeah, they should be about a 3-point favorite. And breaking news now, I heard that J.J. Walker is actually going to play for the Pelicans.
Oh, J.J. Walker, okay.
Yeah, there you go. He's going to play Dynamite.
Oh, Dynamite! Love it.
There you go.
All right.
I think you said that Ricky Rubio is out or questionable. I do believe he's going to be back. He only missed the last game because of some personal reasons. Big injury, though. Kelly Oubre will be out for the Suns. He's a heck of a player, exciting player. Skywalker for sure. 18.3 points per game, 6.3 rebounds. So Cameron Johnson and Mikal Bridges will get some added playing time. For the Knicks, though, Bullock was probable. A good player, averaging 9.9 points, 1.6 steals, but in 9 games. And yeah, Ntilikina, he is questionable after missing the last 3 games. 6.2 points. I know, 2.2 rebounds. I know. Well, there's some of these players. I still just say Giannis for Milwaukee's best player. But yeah, we'll call him Frankie N.
Yeah, let's do that.
Dennis.
All right, so what are we doing? We're laying the points on the Suns, about 3-point road favorites.
Yeah, I would probably lean towards laying the points there.
Okay, all right, fair enough. We with you on that one. Let's talk about what are we doing next? I've got to actually read my list here. Oh yes, we're going to do. Are we doing? What do you have? Colorado, Arizona State.
No. I got Oregon and
Washington. Oh, Oregon and
State.
Washington. Let's do that one. And Middle Tennessee. Yes. Okay. I was going to do the games that I'm doing with Chip Chirimbes. He probably wouldn't remember, though. That's, he didn't take his ginkgo biloba. But all right. Or his Centrum. Let's get to it, shall we? Oregon, Washington State. The Ducks, quack, 14-3, 11-6 against the spread. 8-2 on a 3-game winning streak, coming off a 78-69 win over Arizona State. They're 2-1 straight up against the spread as well on the road. They're 3-1 in conference. C.J. Walker likely won't play. Total's gone over in 5 of the last 6. Washington State Cougars, 10-7, 6-11 against the spread. Look, since their 6-game unbeaten run ended, they're 1-3. So they were flying high, and something went pear-shaped quickly, and I'm not sure what it was. Last outing was a 26-point loss to Stanford. They're 7-2 straight up, 4-5 against the spread at home. Jalen Sheed is a doubt, over in 5 of the last 7. And look at this, big road favorites. Oregon, 10-point road favorites here, with a total of almost 140, 139.5 to be exact. Seem a little high for you, or not really? Not the total, the points.
Yeah, once my I'll take a look at some totals once my database is updated. Yeah, C.J. Walker, I'm hearing that he could actually return. Not that he's necessarily going to return, but he played 6 starts in place of Shakur Houston, and Houston just returned. So it would be nice to get both of these guys, which all of a sudden would improve the front court, because for a good part of the year, one of these guys have been out. But Walker is averaging 5.7 points per game, 3.1 rebounds, and very good from three-point land in limited tries, but 6 out of 18. So he's fairly versatile. Again, he's the type of player that, as I said, can sneak under the radar. Whether he does or doesn't play, I think that's going to be less accounted for in the line. But does look like Houston will be back for the Ducks. He averages 8.8 points per game, 7.3 rebounds. I do think that Oregon's finally starting to put it together. I know they said they're still working on the rotations, which is tough when you have had some key players in and out of the lineup. But I do think that, this is a good chance where Oregon might be healthier than they've been recently if Walker does return. So I would take Oregon, and they should be laying about 10 points.
Well, they are doing exactly that. It's Oregon minus 10. And you think that's a good number?
I do think it's a pretty good number, especially if they are coming back. But at the same time, look, is it going to be a premium pick? Probably not, because when you do have guys in and out of the lineup, that kind of gets into my predictably unpredictable. They could explode, but they could also come out flat. And I can see when you're laying that big of a number with guys shuffling in and out of the lineup, I can see how the other side is tempting.
All right. We are just about out of time, Joe. Very quickly, what's up with you? What do you have up at picksandparlays.net for our listeners and viewers to partake in?
Yeah, we will certainly have, by the time I release all my plays, I should have 3 to 5 plays up at picksandparlays.net, and maybe even a couple more in college basketball.
Very nice. Joe Duffy, the Duff Man, always a pleasure. You can find Joe at picksandparlays.net. I know there was one game we didn't get to. Don't worry about it. We'll get to it with my next guest, the chipper himself. Chicken dinner time, Chip Chirimbes. Currently, the man is on fire, 77% with his NBA picks in the last 20 or so. Pretty good. Stay tuned. Chip Chirimbes coming up next. Don't forget, follow me on Twitter at Nick Geber, Nickgeber. And don't forget, if you're checking us out on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell for notifications every time we post a new video. And we do post a lot of videos throughout the day. All right, I'm going to step aside. Be right back with Chip Chirimbes. Welcome back to the show, Picks and Parlays, here on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Nick Geber. Twitter me, twatter me, just reach out and shatter me. At Nick Geber, Nickgeber. I'm a poet as well. It's one of the requirements to hosting a show, Picks and Parlays. You have to have some sort of literary background to just be involved in the site in general, I might add. Anyway, enough about me. Let's tell you about my next guest. Currently, he is super hot at picksandparlays.net. That is right. I have his stats here, and believe you me, he told me, so I better get him right. He is 17-5 in the NBA right now. That's 77%. That is just smoking hot. And if you want your chicken dinner hot, well, most people do. He is hot right now. Let's bring him on in. Chip Chicken Dinner Chirimbes. Chipper, how are you, my friend?
I'm fine, Nick. How are you? This is a great 3-week run. We're talking about our single strongest plays a day, our megabuck play. We give one out a day. And like you said, we're 17-5-1 in the last 23 selections. It's over 3 weeks of winners. So I'm really looking forward to what's going on out here right now. We've got some great games in college basketball. The season's really heated up. And of course, the NBA, they're getting ready to take their midpoint break at the All-Star break. But we've, a break right now, it isn't anything we're looking forward to, Nick. But each and every day, we're coming up with more games.
All right, well, Chipper, speaking of games, we have a few, and I'm actually going to throw you a little curve. I'm going to throw you a game I don't think you prepped for, but, you are the man, capital T, capital M, so I know you're going to be good with it. But let's start with the two college basketball games. By the way, we were going to talk about an NBA game, but there are no lines whatsoever for this game, so we're not going to get to that one today. We're going to do Colorado at Arizona State. Let's start in the Pac-12, Chipper. The Buffaloes, 13-3, 7-8-1 against the spread. They're 7-3. They lost the last outing to Utah, 91-52. Ouch, is all I can say on that.
No, Nick. That was one of my top plays. Colorado beat Utah 91-52.
They beat them. Well, you see,
they beat Utah,
and that's why they're 7-3. Chip, I have not taken my ginkgo biloba today, so there you go. They beat them 91-52. Correct. Thank you.
Well, you've got so many different things passing your desk, and you're sitting there looking at all these different games and prepping for everyone else. I can understand.
Basically, unpaid bills is the main thing passing by my desk right now.
Tell me about that. I know about that.
All right, they're 1-1 straight up and against the spread away from home, 3-1 in conference. Total's gone over in 6 of the last 6. Arizona State Sun Devils, they're 10-6, 8-8 against the spread. They're 6-4. Now they won their last game, 69-78 against Oregon. They're 6-1 straight up, 3-4 against the spread at home. Nice home record. 1-3 in conference play, though. Did I blow it again, Chipper?
You transposed it again. It's Oregon beat Arizona State 78-69. They're coming off a loss. I thought you said that they beat Oregon.
No, I didn't. So the total's gone under in 10 of the last 15. Hearing aid, turn it up, Chipper. Okay, Colorado, 2.5-point favorites, and the total is 139.
Well, Colorado's been a pretty good surprise already this year at 13-3. That big win over Utah that we had mentioned earlier, they've won 6 of their last 7. And like you mentioned, though, their last 6 games all have gone over the total. They're 4-1 against the points in their last 5. But Nick, there is a major drawback to what Colorado has here. They've only covered 3 of their last 10 games overall, and that includes that big win over Utah. Arizona State, surprisingly, 10-6 off the 3-game road trip. They, as an underdog, are 6-1-1 in their last 8. They're a small dog here, but at home, Nick, they're only 1-5 in their last 6 home games. But they go over 6 times. They're over 6-2 in their last 8 games. Colorado's manages to go over 6-0 in their last 6 games. I think rather than take a chance or wonder around what's going on, I'm going to root for both teams to score every time they get the ball. I'm looking for this to go over the total.
So we're going to go over the total in that one. All right, I like it. Let's
Right.
move on, shall we? Over the total on the Sun Devils at 139. Let's go.
Right.
Santa Clara at Gonzaga. This is a West Coast Conference game here. The Santa Clara Broncos, 15-3, 8-8 against the spread. They're 8-2, coming off the 67-66 win against St. Mary's. Correct? Correct.
Yes, beating St. Mary's, the Gales,
Yep.
is a big to-do out there. There's only 3 real teams in the entire conference: Santa Clara, Gonzaga, and St. Mary's. So
Yeah, all right.
that's
Well,
a big win for them.
Right, and they're 1-3 straight up and against the spread on the road. 2-1 in conference. Total's gone over in 4 of the last 6. And Gonzaga Bulldogs 18-1. By the way, the only loss this season came back in November to Michigan. They're 10-8-1
Right.
against the spread. They're 10-0 so far in the last 10. Their last game was a 25-point win over Loyola Marymount. They're 10-0 straight up, 5-5 against the spread at home. Perfect 4-0 in conference. Then they've gone over in 11 of the last 13. So in other words, let me just sort of digest this down to its basic.
Right.
Gonzaga are a very good team, okay? And Santa Clara, also pretty good team, which is why, Chipper, I am surprised, especially given the fact that you just said there are only 3 really good teams in this entire conference. But then I think
Right.
there are only 6 teams in this conference anyway, by the way. True. I
Well,
know.
the West Coast Conference is very weak, and Gonzaga's dominated for a couple
Yeah.
of decades now.
But
go
15-3 for the Broncos. Nice win against St. Mary's. Yet Gonzaga, 20-point home favorites, Chipper. That seems,
Look at that.
are Gonzaga just that much better?
They appear to be. I mean, if the idea that the pundits have actually moved them up to the number 1 spot is really gives them a lot of credit, because this team usually doesn't play a tough schedule, and it's always the same old story at the end of the year. Who did they play? And they always seem to get slighted in the rankings. This
Yeah.
time around, it looks like they're getting their full credit. 20 points, though, Nick. That's an outrageous number in a conference game against a team that's 13-3. So I
That's
think
my
they
point.
really feel that Gonzaga's dominating the conference, and they've dominated Santa Clara for a while now. But I think the total on this game was 155, which for a college basketball game is
Gone up,
outrageously
Chipper.
high.
It's gone up.
Yes.
156
And
and
it's
a
going
half.
up. Well, maybe for good reason, because Santa Clara is 28-11 to the over in their last 39 games against the better teams, against teams with winning percentages, and they're over 6-2 on the road. I'd have a tendency to want to take the 20 points here, but Gonzaga as well is 11-2 to the over in their last 13.
Yeah.
They're 5-1 to the over at home. So rather than claw it out, because the problem with these type of games, Nick, is that Gonzaga, though they're fighting every single time out, every minute, a lot of these teams, say the Dukes and established clubs, they get that big lead and then they coast the last 8-10 minutes, and you're always afraid of a backdoor cover by the Broncos, Santa Clara, or whoever the big underdog is. So this way, just look for them to keep throwing points up and putting points up. Very good offensively. Gonzaga doesn't turn the ball over. They're going to have a great number of opportunities to score. I think this game goes over the total. 20
Wow.
is awful inviting. It looks like we can take the 20, but 155 really raises my eyebrows here.
156
Both these
and a
lines,
half.
right? There we go. So,
Yeah.
I mean, just to start there, you're talking about you need one team to score 80 without a doubt, and we're talking
getting
about 40-minute games.
We're
So-
getting to NBA numbers here, Chipper.
Yes, yeah, the NBAs are always up around 200s, but
I know.
the college guys are only
I
playing
said-
40 minutes.
I said we're getting to NBA numbers. I didn't say we were there, but we're getting there. But
No,
certainly, I mean, if you
yes.
look at the other college games, you're looking at, 139, 120s, 140s, this 156 and a half. Defense, I suppose, isn't going to be played in this game. But
No, well, in today's era, in today's basketball, I think there's a more likely chance that it goes over with the 3-point shot. And when you've got really good teams that are great offensively, have great balance, like both these clubs do, there's probably going to be a lot of scoring.
all right, Chipper, I'm going to throw a
Yeah.
curveball your way. How are you feeling about Conference USA right now?
Well, I don't play in it, but do you mean overall strength? You mean teams
Well,
like?
let's talk Middle Tennessee versus FAU. The Blue Raiders.
I can't really tell you. I really can't tell you too much about them. I really can't, not at all. I mean, you did
Because
throw me
they're
a
both-
curveball, and it was more like a changeup, and I'm not
Yeah,
ready
it was
for
a
it.
change-up. Yeah, I know. We were going to do an NBA game, but that doesn't exist right now. So I figured
Well,
we'd
they're
maybe.
going to play it.
What's that? They're going to play it. I
I
know.
said they're going to play it
They're going to
regardless.
play it, but we don't have much to talk about that. Okay, fine. If you don't want to talk Conference USA,
I
I'll
did, listen.
I'll forgive
I'd
you.
want to if I knew it was coming up, Nick. But I have no idea what the records of either of these clubs are right now.
You don't follow the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders very closely?
I
They're not
follow
on alert on
I
your
just-
cell phone?
No, I just look to single out the single strongest play on the day. If it's in that conference, it's in that conference. But for the most part, I'm getting the major schools. We're getting the big time games, and that seems to work out best for me because I can rely
Yeah.
and have confidence that there's enough action on this game.
You know, Chipper, I heard you actually have
Yeah.
the calendar of the Middle Tennessee Blue Raider cheerleaders, and you've apparently made it a point to leave April up, even though we're only in January. So something's going on, Chipper. You must know something about this school.
Well, it's a great part of the country to be in. I know that. I know that when I was in Tennessee, when I was in the U.S. Army, they were calling me Yankee. So
Yeah.
the South still exists down there, Nick. And I don't know if you're still driving on the other side, the wrong side of the road in England, but we make adjustments here as well.
All right, Chipper, just very
Yeah.
briefly, let's talk a little AFC and NFC action. You got about a minute on each
Okay.
one. Anything
All right.
in particular to look out for as we get down to these divisional finals, championships?
All right, we can talk about the Niners and the Packers and the fact that that Aaron Rodgers, who's a classic Hall of Famer without any question, is been a 7-point dog or more in 3 different playoff games, and he's lost all 3. But Nick, the points are the differential. He's covered all 3. I think the San Francisco line is very high at 7.5 over a team Green Bay's quality. But when you see the way they're offensively, they dominated the line of scrimmage last week against Minnesota. And Minnesota considers themselves a running game. Their top running back had 16 yards in the entire day. I can understand the impression on the Niners being this strong a favorite at home. But Garoppolo doesn't have that experience that Aaron Rodgers has, and I think that's going to bring money toward the Packers. I'm a little leery on it right now. We've got the rest of the week to see what happens with the action and the attitude of the players. But that's a tough call right now at 7.5. I think that's a big line.
Yeah, you
And-
think
and it-
maybe a little bit too much confidence and that the Packers going to put on a better showing than most people
Well,
expect?
they said the Niners might be overconfident last week, and look what, I'd rather have a team be confident that they're going to win than have doubts. But this is a tough one with that number. We'll see what happens. It can come down. I don't know if it will. I don't think so because the Niners have been that good.
All right, well, Chipper, we're just about out of time. So very quickly, what can we find out from you up at picksandparlays.net?
Well, each and every day I post 3 NBA best bets, and today, actually, I have 3 NCAA college best bets. I had 5 on Wednesday. It's either 3 to 5. I'm going to give you a chance to make money. There's no 1-and-1 split where you don't get. We're looking for a profit every day. So you're either going to get 1 game, 3 games, or 5 games. And right now we're in our groove and we're sitting there taking it a day at a time and really feel very comfortable with what we're doing. Like we mentioned, 17-5 against the points in the last 22 Megabuck winners in NBA action. And as a matter of fact, in college basketball right now, we're 6-2 in the last 8 as well. We had a big winner last night, and we're looking forward to more.
All right, finally, Chipper, one last game I want to throw by you. Jalisco International Technical College against Cape Girardeau A&M. Any thoughts?
Nick, you're not as funny as you think, Nick.
All right. Chip Chirimbes, always a pleasure. By the way, you can get Chip's picks up on the website right now. He's one of our top handicappers. You heard, NBA, he's currently 77%. That's over, 17-5. That's 22 games. He's 77% the last 22 NBA games. Pretty impressive stuff. And you can get Chip's picks for 15% off. Use promo code TIE, T-I-E. In case you missed any of the picks we've given out on this show, stay tuned. Right after the break, I'll recap them all for you. Welcome back. Picks and Parlays programming reminder, Monday through Friday. Get out your Sharpie, folks. And I say Sharpie, and get out something equally as ancient as Chip Chirimbes. A Filofax. Remember those things? You remember those? Or a Day Runner. Take your Sharpie, 4 p.m. if you're on the East Coast, 1 p.m. if you're on Pacific. You write Picks and Parlays, Monday through Friday. Big black script right there on your Filofax, on your Day Runner. Be sure to tune in. We got the best free picks in the biz. And here's what we had today on the show. We started with Craig Trapp. Little college basketball, Cincinnati at Memphis. He said take Memphis at -5. Utah, Arizona, take Arizona -13. And Cal, USC, take the under 132.5. Then we had Joe Duffy. Did a couple of college basketball picks for you. Oregon at Washington State. Take Oregon -10. And Middle Tennessee at Florida State. Take Middle Tennessee +10. I actually don't remember doing that with Joe, but that's the pick anyway. Middle Tennessee +10. All right. Next up, Chip Chirimbes. Denver at Golden State. Take the under. Colorado at Arizona State. Take under 141. And Santa Clara at Gonzaga. Take the over 155. Those were our picks. Hope you enjoyed them. Hope we're going to help you make some money, because that's what you love to do. Nothing better than betting on sports. Enjoy the game. Put a little quality coin in your pocket at the end of it and laugh all the way to the next game. That's the way we do it here. Picksandparlays.net. Once again, special offer for our expert picks. We have 35 of the best handicappers in the business. So you can get them at picksandparlays.net. And if you want their expert picks, you can get them. We're giving you a free gift, 15% off. Promo code TIE, T-I-E. Okay, I will be back with you tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to do Premier League preview as well with Al Ninos. You don't want to miss that. Plus, of course, loads more college basketball, NBA, and a bit more discussion of the NFL championships. All right, till then, remember, bet, win, repeat.